Hey, Cynthia, uh, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
John cannot get you know how the screen has on the bottom has mute and unmute and all that? He cannot get a screen up that says that.
Okay, hold on. All right. Hold on. I've got too many monitors going and sound going. Hello, everybody that has just joined us. We're trying to get our tech end going here. So.
Oh, there I am. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes. John,
Can you
the
hear
reason
me?
you couldn't get it was I did not promote you to a panelist yet because I hadn't seen it. I only had Marilyn on as a panelist.
I can't hear you.
Well, you're okay now, John. That's all you need to know.
All right, everyone. So what happens is if you are a panelist, you should be seeing, and I've pretty much moved you all up there. Okay. And you want to stay up in there and stay muted.
Mute.
Okay.
Mute me.
Until it's your turn to go to the screen. Can you stop the movie for me for a sec?
You want to stop the share?
Yeah, you can stop the share for a sec. So depending on at this point, everybody Joanne Smith, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever. Evan is here. Who else is here?
Paul is.
Evan is.
And Paul is.
I don't see Paul. I see
I
Evan.
see Paul.
Why don't I see Paul?
I don't know. I see
Ah,
Paul.
there's Paul. I see you now. I'm sorry. All right. So
I saw him first.
as you can tell, I can move you into, it's my view that the audience sees. Does that make sense? Okay. I need to get my volume down to 0 so I can stop this on my iPad for a sec. All right. So everybody has the order correct. You'll get a different order for every night. It'll change a little bit. We have some opening information to do and all that kind of fun stuff. You want to stay muted. If I move us to speaker view, then you see what happens, right?
Can I say something? I've unmuted myself.
Yep.
You know, I can hear your voice, but I don't understand what you're saying. I know because I need a signal from you as to when to start. Go like that or something. Yeah, because they don't work anymore.
I know. That's why I put you first.
Thank you.
So when we go in here, I can put you on the screen. See what happens? Joanne's on the screen now. Are you not being able to see that?
I just have the normal gallery view.
Yeah, because you're controlling it that way as a panelist, but let me see.
I see six of you.
Are there 6? Can you count?
Yes. 6.
I have 1,000 Zoom at Penn State going on here. Did I kick myself out? I must have.
You're still there. Temple.
No, as myself. There we go. So right now, I'm the only one on the actual screen. And then, now, turn off your videos. And what should happen is, good. So Evan and Paul, you're the only 2 up right now. So on the actual screen, I'm only seeing Evan and Paul. And now I'm seeing Evan only. No, Paul only. Paul, stay up.
Is that a cabbage?
All right.
It is
So,
in fact a cabbage.
Carrie can see you, but it's as if she's an attendee and not a panelist.
yes, because she hasn't been promoted yet.
Okay. What does she have to do? Like break someone's leg?
Nothing. I have to do it.
Okay, good.
Tomorrow this will be different because I'm going to send you a different link. So you can all come, everybody can come into the practice room. All right. Can you all hear me? Look at that lovely backdrop she's got going on. She's outdone
Ooh,
us
that's
all.
Cool. I like that. That's nice.
Okay, so let me turn me off here.
I keep trying to do that. That doesn't work in real life.
As long as your video is off, you will not actually be on the main screen, but you'll be able to see all the other panelists. So you can switch your own to speaker view. And then you should only see the people and you'd be over on the side. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. So at the very, very beginning at 7:15, now the unfortunate thing is that button is live now for anyone and everyone to join us because I messed up with the breakout room. Tomorrow night, we'll be in a breakout room and not be live. Right? Which is sort of what happened during the play reading series. The first time in June, we were live the whole time. Okay. So at about 7:15 or when people start coming on, I'll say hi to them and whatever. I'm going to go to music only. 2 minutes to go. We're putting on a film. I'm going to type this to John. Or can you type that in?
What are we doing?
Just tell him it at the 2-minute places warning.
Yes. I just need to remember how to type.
Okay, this way John can see that. Then Jim and I are going to do an introduction.
At 2-minute time, what am I saying?
2-minute warning, we play the film. So when the screen goes from the postcard to the film, you know you're at 2 minutes. Plus we'll be typing and chatting to you. Okay. We've put in some breaks and introductions. And I'll go through that here in a few seconds. And we're going to try and warn you when you're up. Does that make sense? Like we'll give you like the last stanza, stand by. Okay. So we'll give you a standby. You're on the screen. The other person's on the screen talking. You turn off your mic or your video and then your mic. And as soon as you see them come off the screen, if you're up next, you pop in, turn your video on, and that should put you on the screen. Now, Zoom has been a nightmare all day. I've been kicked out of 5 meetings today, right? So whatever happens, happens. One of us will step in and help, right? If you miss coming in, I mean, it's a reading for heaven's sakes, okay? And it's free. So
No refunds, no refunds.
no refunds for anyone, and I don't want to hear anything, okay? But we'll step in. We're going to monitor as much as possible, try and chat and warn you as much as possible in the chat. Do pay attention that because there's a difference between chatting to all panelists, and make sure that's what you're on, versus chatting to panelists and attendees. Don't say, holy effing whatever, Cynthia, what's going on, to all the attendees, okay?
You look at me.
Yeah, that was to my husband. Okay. So I'm gonna get out of here and do crap. You guys just play, come in and out, turn your videos on and off, right? Play with the screen for about 5 or 10 minutes, okay? Does that help?
Yep. So we're in.
Hey, Paul, is audio fine?
Yeah, it's good. I can hear you pretty well. Here, try something again. How's mine?
Yours is fine.
Okay.
Is mine
Bear in
all right?
mind that, yeah, you're good too.
Yours is
Okay.
rather good, Evan.
Okay. See, this is why you get a nice laptop.
Your video is a little fuzzy though.
Yeah, it's mostly just because it's really hard for me to get good lighting in the room. Because if I turn the light on up there, it blots out parts of the screen.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the resolution on the camera, but
Mm-hmm.
it's okay.
Hmm. Well, you two have cool backgrounds, so
You have green.
I have green. The green wall,
Yes,
aka the side of our dining room.
yes.
If I move too far to the left of right, you see like light switches and things hanging up. So I'm trying to make it nice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, is our family, is anyone using the microphone?
I'm not.
Okay, you can if you want to. If I sound fine, I probably won't bother.
Yeah, I think of the two of you, Mom's mic is probably the most in need of an upgrade.
Oh, is it really?
Mm-hmm.
It's a
Okay,
little tinny. I'll run it up
As
to
you're
you.
on a
Hang on a
Mac.
sec. One moment.
dude. Yes, also bear in mind there are 3 of us on Zoom in the same household right now. So,
Yeah.
and children online in the basement. So
I'm just wondering about the excerpts we have to do. Where is it?
Go ahead.
With my part in Hot Frog, I'm also reading the introduction part, correct?
Oh.
You can, but then don't call him a dwarf.
Okay.
It's completely up to you. I can see that working either way.
Uh-huh. It's mostly just because it depends on if everyone else does it, but am I the first one?
I gotta double check the order here. Yes, you are the first one.
Okay. So basically, it is up to whether everyone else is okay with doing that as well.
Hey, I'm testing out the new mic. How's this?
That's better.
Is it? Okay.
So do all of you have your videos off right now?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
We're on.
I have my video off.
Here. Mine's off.
I need to see something here.
I'm gonna go get a water bottle real quick. I'll be right back.
Hey, Evan, could you run my tea up to me?
Okay.
Okay, I gotta see what view I need to be in because it's coming, broadcasting from me. Marcinkeviches, did you guys just run somewhere? Jim, turn your video on. Joanne, turn your video on.
Oh, wait. Okay, I'll get there. Wait, hang on. Video, start video.
Only Evan is gone.
Okay, so Carrie, turn yours on too. I want to see, I should be able to get 3 of you at a time, and I'm not sure why I'm not.
Evan will be right there.
I've got.
Where's Carrie going? She disappeared into the forest. That's creepy.
But she has that wonderful background. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. My family's outdone me. I'm bad, you know? That's pretty awesome.
The median age of our participants has dropped dramatically.
Okay, I can spotlight you. So Joanne's now in the main screen. And so I want to try something here, gang.
Evan, you are not allowed to perform with Ron Burgundy tonight.
Just looked up. I'm like, what is going on? All right. If I kick this on speaker view, there's only one time that 3 of you speak. So let's see what happens.
Cynthia, I'm getting an echo when you talk. I don't know if that's on purpose right now
Yeah, because I'm also watching it on the monitor.
on your phone. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
You need that.
Should we run Haunted Palace and see what that's like?
I'm still here.
Yes, sorry. I'm nodding and you can't
Nope.
see me.
No, I could.
Oh.
Sorry.
What I'm trying to figure out is, I need Mike Waldeer right now. This happened during Alice. We were fine in the play readings where 3 of you could be on the screen when you were speaking,
Mm-hmm.
but it ain't working right now. Vanessa, Elizabeth, either of you know what happened?
To what? I just got on.
How did we get 3 people on the screen at the same time?
For Zoom,
Yeah.
I only did that for StreamYard.
Is it possible that you can pin them? Pin 3 videos at the same time?
No, it flips.
Oh, you mean like for Alice and everything, how you had it set up?
Yeah, see, if I pin the video, it only pins the one. It won't let me pin more than one.
Is it just gallery with only the speakers with their videos on?
I think you can put like hide attendees without video on and then make sure everybody only turns their video on when they're reading. Do you want some of it? I'll turn my video off. You can try.
Mm-hmm.
But does that
That's-
include panelists?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I feel like that's what we did for one of the plays where we were in gallery view. And if there was a scene where you needed to drop out, you turned off your video and you disappeared from the screen, but then you
Okay.
came back in only when you.
Because I see what it does. I have it on gallery view. It went back to host view the minute I minimize the screen. All right, we are on gallery view. Let's all try that. Let's see what happens when we turn off our darn videos.
Did it work?
I think you need to have 3 people on.
Talking to you and you can't hear me. Vanessa's the only one on the screen right now.
What about Jim?
Nope.
Just
I
me?
see Jim.
Well,
Wait.
but panelist view is different.
Make somebody an attendee so they can send in the chat what they're seeing.
I'm looking at it, guys.
Oh, your UC attendee view?
Yep. I'm in here as an attendee only.
And it's just me.
I just turned off video.
Okay. Play sound, allow participants to rename themselves. Follow host view. I have it on gallery view. Should I go to active speaker view? Let's see what that does, gang. Marcin Keviges, this only applies to you. So one of the 3 of you stay out. Put on your video and put on your mics.
On.
Evan, video on. Yeah.
How's that?
I'm only getting
All right.
one at a time.
Well,
Which
we're
we
reading
might
it.
not.
We were going to read it in sequence. Would that still work? If I read the first, if we broke it into thirds, so would that work and would it just switch to different speakers or would that lag too much?
No, that'll work. You just, yeah.
Okay.
Alternatively, we could literally stand together at my computer and do
Yeah.
it.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
So maybe for that piece,
Mhm.
Yeah. Do you want to see what it looks like?
yeah, try it.
Okay. All right, Marcin Keviges
Come
is
here.
cool.
Marcin Keviges, go. So while they're getting set up, the other thing that is going to happen is at the very beginning, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves. Okay? Might be easier to go in alpha order. So the list I sent you was in alpha order for Friday night.
Also on a side note, the list of what we were reading initially said that
Squeeze in.
Mary Ann was reading Pit and Pendulum for tonight,
Aha.
but then the order of the show.
Oh, wait, you can't go back.
It's the Homer meme.
Hang on.
I am not sure, Vanessa. She just stepped out for a moment. Ooh,
It's okay.
Vanessa, I had assumed that you were doing it just because it said it on the final order.
Okay. I can do it. I just only read it like after seeing the final order. So I might not be as eloquent in it as you. Cynthia, and did you hear any of that?
I needed to go grab something from the printer. Are we talking about the intro?
No, in the initial, when you sent out like who's reading what, you had initially said Ariane's doing Pit and Pendulum and she's still doing it tomorrow night. But in just tonight's order of reading, like the final order you sent out, it says I'm reading it. So who's supposed
That's
to?
a mistake.
Okay,
You
Ariane.
have a poem. Vanessa, you're to
I
One
do.
in Paradise.
I had all 3. I'm doing To One in Paradise in the beginning of Cask of Amontillado, but it just like threw Pit and Pendulum in there, and I was like, I did not know that, and I wasn't sure. Okay, great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's a mistake.
JVJ.
I love it.
Bruce can hear us. Poor Bruce. Hello, Bruce. love that Carrie's head disappeared. Oh my God.
Okay, that creeped me out.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, Bruce, we just have to get your video on.
Yep.
I have to run up here earlier, so I'm not out of breath.
All right, everybody can hear me. Where are we time-wise?
6:55.
Oh, you're good. I love it. All right. So reminder, here's what's going to happen. 7:15, I'm going to turn on the music. 7:28-ish, the movie plays. I moved it out of my way.
Well, I can't make notes if you steal my pen. All right. 7:18 movie play.
7:28.
Yeah, okay.
All right, that's it. When you see the short movie,
Yeah, that's it.
Bruce, we gotta get your video going.
I know. How do you do that? Oh, wait, here we go. Here
I
we
just sent you a request.
go. Okay. That will do. Hello.
Okay, we got two Jerseyites. Well, no, Bruce, you're in
Joyzy.
Jersey too. So is Joanne. Okay, I'm gonna welcome everybody. Hey, blah, 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 blah. Then talk about Pogo, which is our bingo with Po words, right? And then I'm gonna ask the company to introduce themselves. So, that being said, you're just gonna pop in and say hi. Okay, do you need to look at the alpha list? That might be the easiest way to go.
The what list? The running order list?
The
Or-
alpha list of the company for tonight,
I don't know what an alpha list is. Sorry.
alphabetical.
Oh, alphabet.
Sorry.
So yeah, I guess I would need to know where I stand or sit.
No. Oh, all right.
I've done it. I don't have an alphabetical list.
You should have got a thing that said who was on Friday night,
Right.
That's not in alphabetical order.
not the running order, but the actual list. It was a separate thing. Anyhow, we can do this. You're all adults. You can do this really quickly. Elizabeth should be 1. That's a B. Bruce is 2. Who's next, people? John.
Was this a word doc?
3.
John is 3. After Bruce.
After Bruce?
After Bruce.
Okay.
Then it should be Marcy Cabbages, right? Then Vanessa. And then Ariane.
Cool.
And Joanne's just visiting tonight. She's with us tomorrow night. Okay.
You don't give our name, we just say hi.
No, give your name.
Oh, right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Then you guys go away. Jim and I will take back over. We're going to discuss the community read and the open mic. And I am going to put the community read script in an email to you here in a few minutes. Because if no one else wants to read, we can do it. Makes sense? Or we fill in as need be.
I have another poem to read if you want it.
When we get to the open mic, that'd be perfect.
Yeah.
Then mark in your scripts as you need to. John, as soon as Jim and I are done, I'll give you the go. And then John's at the top. Then Elizabeth, pay attention. Where are you?
I just posted the running order from what you sent in the chat.
Okay. After Annabelle Lee, we're going to do a round of trivia and introduce the next 3 poems. And then the 3 poems run in order. So Elizabeth comes off the screen, Paul comes on the screen, Paul comes off the screen, Vanessa goes on. Evan, there's a break before you again. So it's every 3 after Annabelle Lee. Annabelle Lee, break, trivia, introduce the 3 poems, and then you guys go. Then break, trivia, introduce the next section, which is Evan, Bruce, and the 3 of you together. And Bells should give Evan plenty of time to get with you, unless you've banished him and locked him out. Then Vanessa, that's right, there's the mistake. Ariane.
Gotcha.
Before the little pit and pendulum. Oh, there's a 3rd Jerseyite. There she is.
Yeah.
Before pit and pendulum, we'll do another trivia and introduce the next section. And then Ariane, Paul, Elizabeth ends that section. Then we do another trivia. So before Conquer a Worm, Evan. We'll continue to chat and tell you these things, but just kind of running it down for you. And it's then Evan, Cask of Amontillado, Vanessa and Ariane, and then Shadow. And then one more trivia, introduce the section before Bruce finishes with the Raven. So when we say on deck, you know that the next 3 poems are coming, and then you're good to go. Make sense?
Will there be pauses in between poems, or once the person before us video goes off, should we just go on and start?
Yep. You go on and start soon as they come off.
Okay.
All right. Introduce the poem, use its title.
Just answer my question.
You don't have to say by Edgar Allan Poe. All right. And then after the Raven, we see if anyone in the audience wants to be part of the community read. Okay. In which we'll do the Telltale Heart. And then we'll open mic if any students or anyone wants to read anything. If any of you guys want to read anything, we have an open mic section. And then I'm going to finish it off with a movie, if anyone wants to stick around, which is Man in the Crowd, the Van Dance piece, Man in the Crowd. And then that concludes Friday nights. And then we regroup the whole thing for Saturday, next Friday, next Saturday. Every night is different. All right. And it's only the 3 of you reading together. Otherwise, I got to figure out why we're not seeing.
Is there one with Vanessa and Ariane, or is that
Ooh.
separate?
The Cask of Amontillado we read together, but separately. Sort
But
of.
it's separate. It's an intro and then a monologue. So that should be fine if they pop in and out.
Cynthia, if you tell me again where those 3 trivias are, I'll put them into the running order and send it again so everybody has it for sure. Oop, I just sent it by accident. So I meant to hit enter, but I forgot that sends it.
It's every 3 after Annabelle Lee.
Yep.
Every 3? Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cynthia,
Yes.
on the introduction of the poem, do I have to give an introduction title, Annabelle Lee by Edgar Allan Poe, or do I just go straight into it?
Give the title. You don't necessarily have to say Edgar Allan Poe.
Okay. Thank you.
So type that to him.
I'm sorry, what am I typing? It wasn't.
All right. Any other questions?
What am I typing?
All right, gang. It is 7:04, 10 minutes till house opens. Go ahead and play and check your mics, check your whatever. Let me know if you need anything.
Cynthia, can I ask a quick question on, you guys can go now. So on shadow,
Yes.
I had emailed, there's one place where it seems like it's repeated. There might be a duplication, and I wasn't sure if that was intentional or if that was an adaptation error.
Good. Joanne Smith, did I send you one with a repeat or did I give you silence?
I didn't think you sent me. I thought, oh, yes, you sent it.
But it might, in shadow, there's a line that repeats twice.
Looking.
I
don't remember. I read it and I don't remember a repeat.
I mean, I thought I sent the two of you the same thing, but hey.
Let me see, I'd have to.
If it feels awkward because I can't find it right now, cut it.
I can rework. Yeah, it starts with "and lo." It's among those sable draperies where the sound of the song departed. The figure of a man, but it was neither the shadow of man nor of God nor of any familiar thing. That line
is repeated later. Absolutely. That's deliberate.
On purpose. Okay.
That is on purpose. I thought you meant back to back.
No, it's in the next paragraph. So
yeah, it's repeated on purpose.
Okay.
Because you know I had to mess with Edgar Allan. Here is the order sheet. I'm really bothered by the fact that I can't make this work. If I go to my panelists and I go to more.
I don't have that printout that you had with my highlighted stuff from Telto.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it here in a second.
Okay.
Play sound, allow participants to rename yourselves. We're an active speaker. I'm gonna try gallery view again. But I'm only getting my face, which is really bad because there's a lot of really bad shadow there.
Oh. Cynthia?
Yeah.
I'm looking this up. Any layouts can be used in full screen or window. Let me see. You can pin or spotlight up to 9 participants' videos.
Does it say how? Because when I go to pin video, it takes the other person off.
The host can spotlight up to 9 videos. Spotlight video puts a participant as the primary active speaker. All participants will see only them. Hang on, I'm trying to find the.
Is that only for regular Zoom or is that also for Zoom webinar? Because I know that when I teach, I can like do that, but I'm not on a webinar. I'm just on a regular thing.
Right, I looked up webinars. I'm not sure if it took me to something else. In a meeting, in a webinar. Note, spotlighting multiple videos requires desktop client 5.22 on Windows or Mac. So if it's an older version of Zoom on whatever computer you're on, it might not work.
It's a new version though.
Of Zoom?
Mm-hmm.
Prerequisites. Zoom desktop client. So the prerequisites: host or co-host privileges, Zoom desktop client or Zoom mobile app, 2 or more participants with videos on, and spotlighting multiple videos requires desktop client 5.22 on Windows or Mac.
Hey, let's try this. I just clicked on hide non-video. So if I go to gallery view, maybe this is the way it has to be.
Are you sure you have 5.2.2? Because mine was 5.2.1.
I don't know. I'm going to go to my host view. And it's not switching on my iPad though that I'm watching this on. Wow, it's like there's different choices depending on what you click on. If we follow the host's view, which is me, yep, Joanne has come in again. Promote her to panelist. Oh, sorry, you didn't want that, did you? You were checking for us. Okay, I'm going to make you a non. I'll change your role to attendee. Tell me what you're seeing, Joanne. So you can see all of us.
They couldn't hear talking.
Okay, if you turn, everybody turn their video off except for Marcin Kevich. I have two of you on the screen. Joanne, is that what you're getting? Or are you seeing blank screens from the rest of us?
Yay.
All right, we might have it. I don't want to play anymore.
So do you still want the guys to come to me and do it in the same room, or do you want to do it spotlighted?
That's not a spot. I didn't spotlight.
Or
we just went to gallery view and I took off any muted. We're not seeing anybody muted.
Okay, so we shouldn't move.
It shows me that I'm spotlighted or pinned.
Talking to you and you can't hear me.
Right.
All right, you should be off now. We may have it.
So they can stay where they are?
I think so.
Okay.
I think
I can hear Evan practicing, so I'm going to go tell him.
And we have a new person who has joined us. Hello, Deb.
Not seeing anyone.
You would be able to chat with us right now, but your mic would not be heard. And Paul, you are on the screen.
Just a reminder, I still need my stuff.
Hello and welcome to PO 2020. So today, let's make sure that's picking up. Can everyone hear me out there? My attendees, can you give me a thumbs up or a hello? Just checking here. We are live streaming on Facebook as well. So I'm beginning to see a few faces. Yay. All right, as attendees, you can chat to us, but I don't have your cameras on right now, so we're not forcing you out there. We'll be meeting everyone in the cast here in a few minutes. This is kind of our annual Poe celebration. On Friday nights, we're doing poetry for young audiences. So we'll be doing some shortened versions of the tales. We'll also be playing some trivia, and we'll be doing some Poe bingo here in a few minutes, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And we're going to get ready to get started here. So I'm going to ask the cast to come on and introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Bagley, and I am a sophomore at Penn State.
Hello. That's not me.
Can we hear Bruce?
Hello. I'm trying.
Bruce, we
can hear you.
We're good.
Hello. I'm Bruce Clow.
John,
John, I think you're up.
Hello, JBJ, John Vickers Jones. I'm so happy to be a participant in this program tonight. Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Carrie Marcinkiewicz, and I'm part of the family. You'll meet the rest in a second.
Hello, I'm Evan Marcinkiewicz. That was my mom, of course.
Hello. Hello, I'm Paul Marcinkiewicz.
Hi, I'm Vanessa Peduzzi. I'm a student of Cynthia's, and I'm also excited to participate tonight.
Hi, I'm Marianne Ryan. Happy to be here.
All right, we're coming back. So to my right is Jim Colbert, or to my left on that screen. Not sure where it's popping up on your screen at the moment. Okay, so a number of things that we're going to be doing today. One of them is we'll have some Poe trivia, and you can win. Fun little thing. So the first person to get the first 5 right answers can win either a Poe finger puppet, a set of Poe cards, or even better, Poe bandages, right? So you can pick from that group here in a few minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and have Jim start us off with just a little snippet of things that we're going to talk about here in a bit.
He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. Cold, mad, murder. And so, by degrees, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man and thus rid myself of the eye forever. Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him.
Thank you. So sorry about that. I'm gonna try that again. So at the end of today, we're going to do a community reads of the Telltale Heart. And we're gonna ask you to join us. So we have space for about 36 people. So plenty of time for you to come join us, as well as an open mic. We are gonna start the evening off with John Vickers-Jones and Annabelle Lee.
No, there's no video.
We'll get John to turn his video back on.
I think you turned it off.
There you go. Annabelle Lee. It was many and many a year ago, in a kingdom by the sea, that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabelle Lee. And this maiden, she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. I was a child, and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea. But we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabelle Lee, with a love that winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabelle Lee, so that her highborn kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. The angels, not half so happy in heaven, went envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabelle Lee. But our love, it was stronger by far than the love who were those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea can ever dissever my soul from the soul of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabelle Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel the bright eyes of that beautiful Annabelle Lee. And so, all the night tide, I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea.
Thank you, John. So we start off with Annabelle Lee, and we're going to start next with our first trivia question. So for my attendees out there, all you need to do is use the chat button, and the first person to get it right earns the first point. And remember, you're trying to get 5 points for tonight, and that wins you a lovely Poe puppet. All right. Our number one first question is, what did Poe call himself when he signed some of his letters? Now, Edgar's the easy one, so we're going to forget that one. And Michael Kearns got it right away. So Michael wins 1 point, so we're going to write that down. All right, he's got 4 to go, and the answer is Eddie. All right. Our next set of poems are coming from Elizabeth Bagley, Paul Marcinkiewicz, and Vanessa Peduzzi. The Lake, Eulalie, and To One in Paradise.
The lake. In spring of youth it was my lot to haunt the whole wide earth a spot, the which I could not love the less. So lovely was the loneliness of a wild lake, with black rock bound and tall pines that towered round. But when the night had thrown her pall upon that spot, as upon all, and the music wind went by murmuring in melody, then, oh, then I would awake to the terror of the lone lake. Yet that terror was not fright, but a tremulous delight, a feeling not jeweled mind could teach or bribe me to define, nor love, although the love were thine. Death was in that poisonous wave, and in its gulf a fitting wave for him who thence could solace bring to lone his imagining, whose solitary soul could make an Eden of that dim lake.
Eulalie. I dwelt alone in a world of moan, and my soul was a stagnant tide, till the fair and gentle Eulalie became my blushing bride, till the yellow-haired young Eulalie became my smiling bride. Ah, less bright the stars of the night than the eyes of the radiant girl, and never a flake that the vapor can make with the moon tints of purple and pearl can vie with the modest Eulalie's most unregarded curl, can compare with the bright-eyed Eulalie's most humble and careless curl. Now doubt, now pain, come never again, for her soul gives me sigh for sigh, while all day long shines bright and strong Astarte within the sky, and ever to her dear Eulalie upturns her matron eye, and ever to her young Eulalie upturns her violet eye.
To one in paradise. Thou wast that all to me, love, for which my soul did pine. A green isle in the sea, love, a fountain and a shrine, all wreathed with fairy fruits and flowers, and all the flowers were mine. Ah, dream too bright to last, ah, starry hope that didst arise, but to be overcast, a voice from out the future cries. On, but o'er the past, dim gulf, my spirit hovering lies, mute, motionless, aghast. For alas, alas, with me, the light of life is o'er. No more, no more, no more. Such language holds the solemn sea to the sands upon the shore. Shall bloom the thunder-blasted tree, or the stricken eagle soar. And all my days are trances, and all my nightly dreams are where thy gray eye glances, and where thy footstep gleams. In what ethereal dances, by what eternal streams.
So we're going to go to our second trivia question for the evening. Are you ready? Got to pick it up to read it. And is everybody ready? Everybody in chat ready to go? At what age did Edgar Poe become Edgar Allan Poe? This could be a tricky one as to when it actually happened versus when he was orphaned. When was he orphaned? Does anyone know what year he became an orphan? I got a 30, I got a 23, I got a 14. You all have smartphones out there. I got a 10. Keep coming down. I got a 3. We have a 3, Laura Waldeer. There we go. Congratulations, Laura. And it is age 3. Our next set of poems are a mix of poetry for young audiences from Edgar Allan Poe, in which they took some of the longer macabre stories and turned them into prose poems. So they only took snippets of them, and we'll be sharing some of that today, and I'll show you that book here in a little bit. But we have coming up Evan Marcinkiewicz, Bruce Clow, and then the entire Marcinkiewicz family as we take a look at Hop Frog, The Bells, and The Haunted Palace.
From Hop Frog. This story is about a king who is a court jester named Hop Frog. The king forces the jester to drink wine, even though he knows it will make him crazy and sick. In the end, the jester destroys the king. When we read this story, it's easy to believe that Poe knew his alcohol addiction was bad for him, and that he wished, like little Hop Frog, that he could get rid of it. Come here, Hop Frog, said the king. Swallow this, and let us have the benefit of your invention. We want characters. Characters, man, something novel. We are wearied with this everlasting sameness. Come drink. The wine will brighten your wits. The command to drink forced the tears to Hop Frog's eyes. Bitter drops fell into the goblet as he took it humbly from the hand of the tyrant. Ha ha ha, roared the king, as Hop Frog reluctantly drained the beaker. Poor fellow. Hop Frog's large eyes gleamed. He placed the goblet nervously on the table and looked round upon the company with a half-insane stare.
The bells. Hear the sledges with the bells, silver bells. What a world of merriment their melody foretells. How they tinkle, tinkle, tinkle in the icy air of night, while the stars that oversprinkle all the heavens seem to twinkle with a crystalline delight, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the tintinnabulation that so musically wells from the bells, 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 from the jingling and the tinkling of the bells. Hear the mellow wedding bells, golden bells. What a world of happiness their harmony foretells. Through the balmy air of night, how they ring out their delight from the molten golden notes and all in tune. What a liquid ditty floats to the turtle dove that listens while she gloats on the moon. Oh, from out the sounding cells, what a gush of euphony voluminously wells, how it swells, how it dwells on the future, how it tells of the rapture that impels to the swinging and the ringing of the bells, 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 of the bells, 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 to the rhyming and the chiming of the bells. Hear the loud alarum bells, brazen bells. What tale of terror now their turbulency tells. In the startled ear of night, how they scream out their affright. Too much horrified to speak, they can only shriek, shriek out of tune. In a clamorous appealing to the mercy of the fire, in a mad expostulation with the deaf and frantic fire, leaping higher, 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 with a desperate desire and a resolute endeavor now to sit or never by the side of the pale-faced moon. Oh, the bells, 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 what a tale their terror tells of despair, how they clang and clash and roar. What a horror they outpour on the bosom of the palpitating air, yet the ear it fully knows by the twanging and the clanging, how the danger ebbs and flows, yet the ear distinctly tells in the jangling and the wrangling how the danger sinks and swells by the sinking or the swelling in the anger of the bells, of the bells, of the bells, 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 bells. The clamor and clangor of the bells. Hear the tolling of the bells, iron bells. What a world of solemn thought their monody compels in the silence of the night, how we shiver with affright at the melancholy menace of their tone, for every sound that floats from the rust within their throats is a groan. And the people, oh, the people, they that dwell up in the steeple all alone, and who tolling, tolling, tolling in that muffled monotone, feel a glory in so rolling on the human heart a stone. They are neither man nor woman, they are neither brute nor human, they are ghouls, and their king it is who tolls, and he rolls, 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 rolls a paean from the bells, and his merry bosom swells with the paean of the bells, and he dances and he yells, keeping time, time, time in a sort of rhythmic rhyme to the paean of the bells, keeping time, time, time in a sort of runic rhyme to the throbbing of the bells, 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 to the sobbing of the bells, keeping time, time, time as he knells, knells, knells in a happy runic rhyme to the rolling of the bells, 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 to the tolling of the bells, 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 the moaning and the groaning of the bells.
The Haunted Palace. In the greenest of our valleys, by good angels tenanted, once a fair and stately palace, radiant palace, reared its head. In the monarch, thought's dominion it stood there, never seraph spread a pinion over fabric half so fair. Banners yellow, glorious, golden on its roof, did float and flow. All this was in the olden time long ago. And every gentle air that dallied in that sweet day, along the ramparts, plumed and pallid, a winged odor went away.
Wanderers in that happy valley through two luminous windows saw spirits moving musically to a lute's well-tuned law. Round about a throne where sitting poor Phrygian, in state his glory well befitting, the ruler of the realm was seen. And all with pearl and ruby glowing was the fair palace door, through which came flowing, 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 and sparkling evermore, a troop of echoes, whose sweet duty was but to sing in voices of surpassing beauty, the wit and wisdom of their king.
But evil things in robes of sorrow assailed the monarch's high estate. Ah, let us mourn, for never morrow shall dawn upon him, desolate. And round about his home, the glory that blushed and bloomed is but a dim remembered story of the old time entombed. And travelers now, within that valley, through the red-litten windows, see vast forms that move fantastically to a discordant melody. While, like a ghastly rapid river, through the pale door a hideous throng rush out forever, and laugh, but smile no more.
Thank you. Okay, get your chat ready. I like StreamYard so much better than Zoom webinar. So thanks for hanging with us here. All right, so here we go. Our question number 3. He published his first book at age 18, and it was called, open our chat and see what's happening. Anyone know what it was called? His first book. No one? No one's even gonna guess? Randy has joined us from New Orleans. Hello, Randy. Nope, it wasn't the Raven though. Tamerlane, Michael has it. Michael now has 2 points. It was Tamerlane. Poe is credited as creating a brand new profession. Now, I'm not talking about types of literature right now. I'm talking about a brand new profession. He is America's first well-known what? Everybody say hi to Randy. Horror worker, I like that. Anyone else want to guess out there? And our attendees, if you'd like to tell us where you're from, that would be awesome too. Just give us an approximate place. And I'm going to take journalist as a correct answer. He is our America's first professional writer. So that's what he is known as. The first guy, as they also said, to become the first starving artist. All right, we're going to do one more of these. Here we go. Mary has that. So Michael has 2 points right now. Laura has 1. Mary has 1. Remember, there's this fun thing coming your way. All right. Poe was most likely named after what Shakespearean character? Can you name the play and the character? And it's Shakespeare. I got a woohoo for Mary winning her point. Anyone out there? I like Midsummer and Puck, but not quite. Where do you think Edgar came from? Anyone? So, of course, no one can prove this. It's just one of those theories because his parents were actors. Lear is correct. Name the character besides Edgar. I'm about ready to give it to Mike, but anyone know? It is not Edgar Snyder. Oh, I need to take my husband off the chat. The Earl of Gloucester, son, Edgar, in King Lear. So we're going to go ahead, Michael. You did get it from Lear, and it is Edgar. So Mike Waldeer has a point. And the last thing I want to show you before we introduce our next set of poems and readings, this is the book that we're looking at primarily tonight, although we do have some other readings coming our way. So it's a Poetry for Young Audiences series, and they do a wide number of authors and poets that are really great, and they're made accessible for middle school on up. So later we'll have a quick reading from The Pit and the Pendulum, right? They've taken some of those out. They've left some of the poems like El Dorado, The Raven, For Annie, Bells complete, right? And done things like this. So this is a great series if you know of young people, and a great way to get them started with some of the authors that we might think are a little too difficult. So we are going to be moving on to The Pit and the Pendulum, To Helen and Alone, with Ariane, Paul, and Elizabeth.
The Pit and the Pendulum. This passage describes the moment which a man is sentenced to death. Later in the story, the man is tortured by a sharp, deadly pendulum that swings, like the relentless arm of a giant clock, ever lower above his chest. The sentence, the dread sentence of death, was the last which reached my ears. I heard no more, yet for a while I saw the lips of the black-robed judges, thin to grotesqueness, thin with the intensity of their firmness, of immovable resolution, of stern contempt of human torture. I saw the degrees of fate still issuing from those lips. I saw them writhe with deadly locution, as I saw them fashion the syllables of my name, and I shuddered. Then my vision fell upon 7 tall candles upon the table. At first they seemed white, slender angels who would save me. But then the angel forms became specters with heads of flame, and I saw that from there would be no help. and then the figures of the judges vanished, all swallowed up in a mad running descent. Then silence, then stillness, and night were the universe.
To Helen. Helen, thy beauty is to me like those Nicean barks of yore that gently o'er a perfumed sea the weary, way-worn wanderer bore to his own native shore. On desperate seas, long wont to roam, have brought me home to the glory that was Greece and the grandeur that was Rome. Lo, in yon brilliant window niche, how statue-like I see thee stand, the agate lamp within thy hand. Ah, Psyche, from the regions which are Holy Land.
Alone. From childhood's hour I have not been as others were. I have not seen as others saw. I could not bring my passions from a common spring. From the same source I have not taken my sorrow. I could not waken my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff or the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view.
All right, thank you. Time for some more trivia. Are you ready? So our next question is, contrary to his story, The Black Cat, Poe adored animals, and he named his own black kitty Am I seeing anyone in the chat yet? And there it is, Katarina or Catalina, but all right. And one more, Poe was a trailblazer, a literary trailblazer, and he was known for 3 distinct things in literature. So he is the earliest writer of what? Anyone in there? The earliest writer of a type of story. He's also, another trivia is he's also considered the father of the modern something. What are those things? Have anybody in chat yet? And he is considered the father and the innovator of the modern detective story. There we go. So Mary now is looking at 2 points. And Michael, one of our Michaels has 3, one of our Michaels has 1, Laura has 1, and Mary has 2. So far, there we go. All right. Coming up next, The Conqueror Worm, Cask of Amontillado, and Shadow, and my black cat who wants to make an appearance. He says, no, I really don't. This is the 18-year-old Boo Boo. So 18 years old. And he says, please, Mom, stop torturing. All right. You can all show your animals later. So we are going to go to Evan, Vanessa, and Ariane and Carrie. Thank you.
Lo, 'tis a gala night, within the lonesome latter years, an angel throng, bewinged, bedight in veils and drowned in tears, sit in a theatre to see a play of hopes and fears, while the orchestra breathes fitfully the music of the spheres. Mimes in the form of God on high mutter and mumble low, and hither and thither fly, mere puppets, they who come and go at bidding of vast formless things that shift the scenery to and fro, flapping from out their condor wings invisible woe. That motley drama, oh be sure it shall not be forgot, with its phantom chased forevermore by a crowd that sees it not, through a circle that ever returneth into the self-same spot, in much of madness, in more of sin, and horror the soul of the plot. But see, amid the mimic rout a crawling shape intrude, a blood-red thing that writhes from out the scenic solitude. It writhes with mortal pangs, the mimes become its food, and seraphs sob at vermin fangs and human gore imbued. Out are the lights, out all, and over each quivering form, the curtain, a funeral pall, comes down with the rush of a storm, while the angels, all pallid and wan, uprising, unveiling, affirm the play is the tragedy, man, and its hero, the conqueror worm.
The Cask of Amontillado. We continued in search of the Amontillado. We passed through low arches and, descending again, arrived at a deep crypt, in which the foulness of the air caused our flambeau rather to glow than flame. At the most remote end of the crypt, there appeared another, less spacious. Its walls had been lined with human bones, piled to the vault overhead in the fashion of the catacombs. Within the wall, we perceived a still interior recess, in depth about 4 feet, in width 3, in height 6 or 7. It seemed to have been constructed for no especial use. The interval between 2 colossal supports of the roof, and backed by one circumscribing wall of solid granite. He stepped unsteadily forward, while I followed immediately at his heels. In an instant, he had reached the extremity of the niche, and finding his progress arrested by the rock, stood stupidly bewildered. A moment more, and I had fettered him to the granite. "The Amontillado!" ejaculated my friend.
There was a low moaning cry from the depths of the recess, then a long and obstinate silence. I laid the second tier, and the third, and the fourth, and then I heard the furious vibrations on the chain. The noise lasted for several minutes, during which I might hearken to hear it with more satisfaction. I ceased my labors and sat down upon the bones. When at last the clanking subsided, I resumed the trowel and finished without interruption the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th tier. The wall was nearly upon level with my breast. A succession of loud, shrill screams bursting suddenly from the throat of the chained form seemed to thrust me violently back. For a brief moment I hesitated. I trembled. I placed my hand upon the solid fabric of the catacombs and felt satisfied. I reapproached the wall. I relied to the yells of him who I clamored. I re-echoed. I aided. I surpassed them in volume and in strength. I did this, and the clamorer grew still. It was now midnight, and my task was drawing to a close. I had completed the 8th, the 9th, and the 10th tier. I had finished a portion of the last and the 11th. There remained but a single stone to be fitted and plastered in. There came from out the niche a low laugh that erected the hairs upon my head. It was succeeded by a sad voice, which I had difficulty in recognizing as that of my noble friend. A very good joke indeed. An excellent jest. You will have many a rich laugh about it at the palazzo. Over our wine. Yes, the Amontillado. Yes, the Amontillado. But is it not getting late? Will they not be awaiting us at the palazzo? Let us be gone. Yes, let us be gone. For the love of God, Montresor. Yes, for the love of God. But to these words I hearkened in vain for a reply. I grew impatient. I called out, "Fortunato!" No answer. I called again, "Fortunato!" No answer still. I thrust a torch through the remaining aperture and let it fall within. There came forth in return only a jingling of bells. I forced the last stone into its position. I plastered it up. Against a new masonry, I re-erected the old rampart of bones. For the half of a century, no mortal has disturbed them. I drink to the buried that repose around us, and to your long life. In pace requiescat.
Shadow, a parable. The year had been a year of terror, and of feelings more intense than terror, for which there is no name upon the earth. For many prodigies and signs had taken place far and wide over sea and land. The black wings of the pestilence were spread abroad. To those, nevertheless, cunning in the stars, it was not unknown that the heavens wore an aspect of ill. And to me, among others, it was evident that now had arrived the alternation of that 794th year, when the peculiar spirit of the skies made itself manifest, not only in the physical orb of the earth, but in the souls, imaginations, and meditations of mankind. Within the walls of a noble hall we sat, at night, a company of 7. And to our chamber there was no entrance save by a lofty door of brass, and the door, being of rare workmanship, was fastened from within. Black draperies, likewise, in the gloomy room, shut out from our view the moon, the lurid stars, and the peopleless streets. But the boding and the memory of evil, they would not be so excluded. There were things around us about of which I can render no distinct account, things material and spiritual, heaviness in the atmosphere, a sense of suffocation, anxiety, and above all, that terrible state of existence when the senses are keenly alive and awake, and meanwhile the powers of thought lie dormant. A dead weight hung upon us. It hung upon our limbs, upon the household furniture, upon the goblets from which we drank, and all things were depressed and borne down thereby. All things save only the flames of the 7 lamps which illumined our revel. Uprearing themselves in tall, slender lines of light, they thus remained burning, all pallid and motionless, and in the mirror which their luster formed upon the round table of ebony at which we sat, each of us beheld the pallor of his own countenance and the unquiet glare in the downcast eyes of his companions. Yet we laughed and were merry in our proper way, which was hysterical, and sang the songs of Anacreon, which are madness, and drank deeply, although the purple wine reminded us of blood. For there was yet another tenant of our chamber. Dead, and at full length he lay enshrouded, the genius and the demon of the scene. Alas, he bore no portion in our mirth, save that his countenance, distorted with the plague, and his eyes, in which death had but half extinguished the fire of the pestilence, seemed to take such interest in our merriment as the dead may haply take in the merriment of those who are to die. But although I felt that the eyes of the departed were upon me, still I forced myself not to perceive the bitterness of their expression, and gazing down steadily into the depths of the ebony mirror, sang with a loud and sonorous voice. But gradually my songs, they ceased, and their echoes, rolling afar off among the sable draperies of the chamber, became weak and undistinguishable, and so faded away. And lo, from among those sable draperies, where the sounds of the song had departed, there came forth a dark and undefined shadow. A shadow such as the moon, when low in heaven, might fashion from the figure of a man. But it was the shadow of neither a man, nor of God, nor of any familiar thing. And quivering a while among the draperies of the room, it at length rested in full view upon the surface of the door of brass. But the shadow was vague and formless and indefinite, and was the shadow neither of man, nor of God, nor of any familiar thing. And the shadow rested upon the brazen doorway, and under the arch of the entablature of the door, and moved not, nor spoke any word, but there became stationary and remained. And the door whereupon the shadow rested was, if I remember aright, over against the feet of the young man enshrouded. But we, the seven there assembled, having seen the shadow as it came out from among the draperies, dare not steadily behold it, but cast down our eyes and gazed continually into the depths of the mirror of ebony. And at length I, speaking some low words, demanded of the shadow its dwelling and its appellation. And the shadow answered, I am shadow. And then did we, the seven, start from our seats in horror and stand trembling and shuddering and aghast, for the tones in the voice of the shadow were not the tones of any one being, but of a multitude of beings, and varying in their cadences from syllable to syllable, fell duskly upon our ears in the well-remembered and familiar accents of many thousand departed friends. Ye who read are still among the living, but I who write shall have long since gone my way in the region of shadows. For indeed strange things shall happen, and secret things be known, and when seen, there will be some to disbelieve, and some to doubt, and yet a few will find much to ponder upon. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow.
So that's one of my favorite fables of his. Tomorrow night we'll get to hear Silence, which is one of the other ones. So are you ready? I am unmuted, so you can hear me this time. All right, chat people, are you ready? So when we go back to him being a literary trailblazer, he's the innovator of a type of genre. So what was it that Poe really, besides the detective story, a genre of what? Horror and, anyone want to get the second half of that? Horror is right on the one hand. I like to keep thinking. Mystery, Gothic, we're getting out there. First horror worker. See, you did have that right. There's something that he's actually considered to have been the innovator of, more than we always do think of him in the horror realm. But what other realm did he play with? I know. Do you? Jim says he knows. Romance, hadn't even thought of that. Got a couple people throwing romance out. I'm going to give it to you, science fiction. All right, how did Poe die? It's a bit of a trick question. It's a good guess there. Evan threw out to everyone, rabies. Joe got it. No one actually knows. It is still a mystery today. No one knows how he died. So Joe's got a point. All right, one of the things I'd like you to do before I do our last trivia question, and then we'll see where we go, is if you're interested in the community read, can you just say yes in the chat box? And we'll get that out. We're going to be doing the Telltale Heart, so it'd be great to have everybody out there read with us, right? Anybody in there? none of our attendees are interested in reading, if you're catching us on Facebook Live, you might want to jump in the webinar if you'd like to read with us and read The Telltale Heart. That means the cast gets to read it, which they're going to find really exciting. All right, so moving on, here is another question for you. About a month before his death, Poe joined what organization to combat his alcoholism? Because he was going to get married again, and he was told he had to sober up. He joined an organization about a month before his death. Anybody know what it is? The early predecessor to AA, and Stephanie has it. It was the Sons of Temperance. Give everybody a big round of applause out there for playing with us today. Before we move into our open mic, we have one more poem to do. And I'm not going to tell you what it is. Let's see if you know what it is. It is the only poem, the only piece of literature in which Poe received instant success. My panelists aren't allowed to answer that. Anyone out there in chat who knows what the poem is? And Michael has it. It is The Raven. So we're going to get Bruce up here before we move to the open mic. And I'm going to turn myself off. I'm going to find Bruce and I'm going to get his video going.
Okay. The Raven. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered, weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this and nothing more. Distinctly, I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here for evermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. 'Tis this and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came tapping, and so faintly you came rapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore?" This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word, "Lenore?" Merely this and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping, somewhat louder than before. Surely, said I, surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more. Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with a mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore, for we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such name as nevermore. But the raven sitting lonely on the placid bust spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, nevermore. Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, doubtless, said I, what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom the unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore of never, nevermore. But the raven, still beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer swung by seraphim, whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretch, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, by these angels he hath sent thee respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted. Tell me truly, I implore, is there Is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign and parting, bird or fiend, I shrieked upstarting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul has spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.
Going to ask the entire cast to come back on screen and say hello. And we've finished our sharing. And we have a few people that have talked about doing some of the community read with us. So I'm going to start to promote you to panelists so you can begin to join us. And is anyone out there interested in doing the open mic portion? Anyone bring a poem or bring something they wanted to share? Can I get anybody else in chat who might join us before I start outing my friends?
Can't undo my video. I can't undo. Oh, there we go. Thank you.
There you go. Ah, Mary's just turned us down, so now I'm going to take her out. Anyone else? Randy, Laura, Joanne, Joe, Michael. Mary, I'll go ahead and move you off there. Okay. John, I think you said you had.
Oh, I got a poem.
Okay. And then I'll bring up community read and I'll assign some parts to the company and we'll go from there. So John, it's all yours.
This one takes me back 79 years. Can you hear me all right? It's called First Love is the Only Kind. It goes back to the 1940s when the Blitz was over London town. For 9 months, continual bombing, day and night, 9 months, from September the 7th to May the 19th of the following year. But we carried on with life then as if it was normal. But to us kids, it wasn't war, it was something else out there. The streets are clear and the road is long. I see your face and I hear the song. I look around and see in my mind the memories that still remain, the times we spent together. Will we ever meet again? Was that you I met so young when we walked hand in hand, listening to love songs being sung? We owned the town, we owned the land. Our strength was ours alone, and we cared not for worldly things. Our hearts were floating free in a wonderful and only young love brings, beating together for the world to see. We were in love in that war-torn world. The touch of hands, the sweet first kiss. Our minds and thoughts were unfurled, the softness of the gentle caress. Memories of those silent nights in the safe darkness, alone without fear. Not caring about the war's great fight, this lasting memory held dear. The streets are clear again, and the road goes on and on. I see your face, and I hear the song. But you are no longer here, and I know you're gone. The memory stays in my mind. That first love is the best and only kind. Her name was Paula, and we were 5 years old. Thank you.
Cynthia, darling, you're muted.
See, I didn't want to come over. Thank you, John. Let's try that again. Oh, Michael Kearns, I sent you a note. Do you want a finger Poe puppet, a deck of Poe cards, or a package of Poe bandages? So send me that in chat, and then I'll talk to you later about how I'm getting them into your hands. So I'm going to share my screen, and the PDF has been weird, so give me a second to do that. And we're going to take a look at and end with the Telltale Heart. So who's reading? Raise your hand on stage. Are you all reading? Have I made you fearful? Ariane, you're going to read. Oh, look at. I'm going to bring it up. Sorry. Okay. So it's basically designed for 30. Jim, you reading?
You need me to.
Okay, for 30 voices. So if we do it 2, now you're asking me to math, people. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 of you. No one else from the audience? Laura can be like convinced into doing this. See, 10 would be great. She's now been promoted to a panelist. Ah, Brendan is coming on up. Anybody else? So you should be able to turn your video on and unmute yourselves.
Joanne Smith.
Yay. So we'll get you to unmute.
I can't unmute if your
Wait.
mic is on.
All right. So anyone else out there? Joe's ignoring me. Okay. What I'm going to do is minimize this, attempt to get our Poe up. Actually, let me turn myself off the screen. While I'm doing that, anyone out in our audience have any questions for them? Or you guys can unmute yourselves and talk and share why you decided to be part of Poe. What do you like about Poe while I get this up for us?
I'll go first, I guess. Hello again. My name is Elizabeth Bagley. I have strange obsession with Poe. I really like the dark and twisted side of him. And if you know me in real life, you know I'm a very happy, bright, and bubbly person. And so the fact that I love Poe is kind of like an oxymoron. But I have got this book, and it's all of Poe's works, and it was the greatest impulse purchase I have ever made. But I just think it's fun to play with dark and creepy and twisty and something that's different than yourself. And Poe is so completely different than me. I just have a lot of fun, and I've been working with his stuff for the past 4 years, as crazy as that sounds.
Elizabeth's two true loves are Disney and Poe. So we got opposite ends of that spectrum.
Anybody else?
I fell in love with Annabelle, the poem Annabelle Lee in the 5th grade when we had to memorize it. And that was a wonderful, wonderful reading of it. Thank you, John. I really, really enjoyed that. So that certainly started me loving Poe.
And I'll chime in. My best friend and I were, I had homework, right? And she was visiting me and I'm like, all right, we'll do my homework together. I have to read The Telltale Heart. Okay, so we started reading The Telltale Heart sitting in my bedroom, and it was getting dark and stormy outside and it was becoming twilight, and we finished the book just as it became dusk and dark. And there was this giant thunderclap and we literally screamed at the end of it. And it was the best ever reading of Telltale Heart that you can imagine. It was just absolutely fantastic. And I will never forget it ever, ever.
Randy says his dad introduced him to Poe when he was about 5 years old with Telltale Heart with Vincent Price. I don't know who Vincent Price is. Someone else.
Oh, Vanessa.
Oh, wow.
I'm like
Have you-
3, okay? I don't know.
Of course we know Vincent Price.
In the Thriller video, he
Okay.
does the voiceover. Okay, the Michael Jackson Thriller video. That's
Oh, there we go.
the pot. Yeah, that's the. But I love what I am always impressed with in reading Poe is how clever his writing is. I mean, in the trivia questions, they mention how he pioneered the detective genre and kind of the horror and the mystery genre and everything, like The Black Cat, The Telltale Heart, Murders at the Rue Morgue. He tells these stories and keeps you going, and it's macabre, but it's brilliant, and it's just really just crazy and gripping. So yeah.
I think I really like about Poe that even though they're not like plays, they feel like they're meant to be read aloud, because like when you read them, it just like feels really good to read. They're like really fun words to pronounce almost. They just sound so good like read aloud. So even though obviously he was like writing on paper, he wasn't like giving speeches that someone who was writing down. It's really meant to be read aloud. So stuff like this is like perfect for it. It sounds so good in a scene like, or in a setting like this one.
I was interested in Elizabeth's showing of the book, and I have one here. I don't know if you can see this. And this is the picture, an engraving of the Murders of the Rue Morgue. Behind this screen is my library, and I collect books. So he is very prominent in my collection.
So we good? All right, there's 12 of you. So choose a number, and then we'll go 1 through 12, and then just add 12 to your number and take the next number, and it just goes in order. Does that make sense?
Are we putting our numbers in the chat?
Or we can just, or behind a brick wall. I'm looking at what's happening on chat. Okay, Bruce, you are number 1. I'm just going to go across my screen. This is easy. Vanessa, 2. Evan, 3. Joanne Smith, 4. Carrie, 5. Elizabeth, 6. Ariane, 7. Laura, 8. Paul, 9. Jim, 10. Brendan, 11. John, 12. Got it? Don't ask me to do that again because you just don't move.
I heard you.
Okay, so what's going to happen is add 12 to that number. So when 13 comes, whoever was 1 is now 13 as well. Make sense? Okay.
Wait, add 12 to D6.
Yep, keep adding 12 and that'll get you. Or at least if you know who you're following, that might work. All right, I'm going to share my screen and let's see if it works. The document is being prepared for reading. That kind of scares me. Can you see that? Let me just make sure I can move it.
Mine is, oh, it's sharpening.
It just cleared up. It was blurry, but it's good. It's good, Cynthia.
Is it good?
Yeah.
Mine's blurry, but maybe it's just taking a while.
Yeah, you're good.
Laura, did it clear up?
Not yet.
Make sure. Now, audience, we can't hear you because I didn't turn your mics on, but there are things in here that say soundscapes. So we need our heart and sounds to be going. So you can help make that as well. So
Try something.
did it clear up, Laura?
I'm switching my camera. Let me see if that, okay, I might disconnect. I'm gonna try not to.
I can switch over. If you tap on it, like on my phone, when I tapped on it, I was able to clear it.
Okay, let's see. Sorry, I don't mean to be. That's better.
Are you able to read it?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
All right, The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe, 43.
It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, had never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye.
Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. Cold. Mad. Murder. And so by degrees I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever.
Now this is the point. You may fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing, but you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him.
And every night about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And I lost the screen. And then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in the dark lantern, all closed, that no light shone on. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in.
I moved it in slowly, very, very slowly. Psst, down a little bit. There you go. So that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then, when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously.
Can you scroll for me, Cynthia?
Never cue at all.
You know what, guys? Hold on. We're going to start this over because I'm going to move into a Word doc. The PDF is scrolling weirdly. I'm so sorry about that. The things you learn, right? Okay, let me see if I can do this again. We're going to try the Word doc. Can everyone see that?
It's off center.
All right, Bruce, start it over for us.
Turned on. It is impossible to say how first the idea entered my brain, but once conceived, it haunted me day and night. Object there was none, passion there was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me, he'd never given me insult. For his gold I had no desire. I think it was his eye.
Yes, it was this. He had the eye of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. Cold. Mad. Murder. And so, by degrees, I made up my mind to take the life of the old man, and thus rid myself of the eye forever.
Now, this is the point. You fancy me mad. Madmen know nothing. But you should have seen me. You should have seen how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what foresight, with what dissimulation. I was never kinder to the old man than during the whole week before I killed him.
And every night, about midnight, I turned the latch of his door and opened it. Oh, so gently. And then when I had made an opening sufficient for my head, I put in a dark lantern, all closed, that no light shone out. And then I thrust in my head. Oh, you would have laughed to see how cunningly I thrust it in.
I moved it very slowly, slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me an hour to place my whole head within the opening so far that I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been so wise as this? And then when my head was well in the room, I undid the lantern cautiously.
Oh, so cautiously, for the hinges creaked. I undid it just so much that a single thin ray fell upon the vulture eye. And I did this for 7 long nights, every night, just at midnight. But I found the eye always closed, and so it was impossible to do the work, for it was not the old man who vexed me, but his evil eye.
And every morning when day broke, I went boldly into the chamber and spoke courageously to him, calling him by name in a hearty tone and inquiring how he passed the night. Upon the 8th night, I was more than cautious in opening the door.
Well, Watch's minute hand moves more quickly than did mine. Never before that night had I felt the extent of my own powers, of my sagacity. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that there I was, opening the door little by little, and he not even to dream of my secret thoughts or deeds.
Okay. I fairly chuckled at the idea, and perhaps he heard me, for he moved on the bed suddenly as if startled. Now, you may think that I drew back, but no. His room was as black as pitch, with the thick darkness. I knew that he could not see the opening of the door. I kept pushing it on steadily.
I had my head in and was about to open the lantern when my thumb slipped upon the tin fastening, and the old man sprang up in bed, crying out, "Who's there?" I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move a muscle. He was still sitting up in the bed listening, just as I have done, night after night, hearkening to the death watches in the wall.
Presently, I heard a slight groan, and I knew it was the groan of mortal terror. It was not a groan of pain or grief, oh no, it was the slow, stifled sound that arises from the bottom of the soul when overcharged with awe. I knew the sound well. Many a night, just at midnight, when all the world slept, it has welled up from my own bosom.
Deepening with this dreadful echo, the terrors that distracted me. I say I knew it well. I knew what the old man felt and pitied him, although I chuckled at heart. I knew that he'd been lying awake ever since the first slight noise. When he had turned in the bed, his fears had been ever since growing upon him. He had been trying to fancy them causeless, but could not.
Yes, he had been trying to comfort himself with these suppositions, but he had found all in vain. All in vain because death, in approaching him, had stalked with his black shadow before him and enveloped the victim. I waited a long time. I resolved to open the lantern.
At length a simple dim ray, like the thread of the spider, fell full upon the vulture eye. It was open, wide, wide open, and I grew furious as I gazed upon it. I saw with perfect distinctness, all a dull blue, with a hideous veil over it that chilled the very marrow in my bones. But I could see nothing else of the old man's face or person, for I had directed the ray as if by instinct, precisely upon the damned spot.
Number 3.
Evan.
I just realized I was muted. And have I not told you that what you mistake for madness is but over-acuteness of the sense? Now, I say, there came to my ears a low, dull, quick sound, such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage.
I knew that sound well, too. It was the beating of the old man's heart. I'm sorry, am I in the wrong one?
Oh, no.
It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet, am I in the wrong one?
No, you're correct.
It was the beating of the old man's heart. It increased my fury as the beating of a drum stimulates the soldier into courage. But even yet I refrained and kept still. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless. I tried how steadily I could maintain the ray upon the eye.
Meantime, the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew quicker and quicker and louder every instant. The old man's terror must have been extreme. It grew louder, I say, louder every moment. Do you mark me? Well, I've told you that I'm nervous, so I am.
Now, at the dead hour of the night, amid the dreadful silence of that old house, so strange a noise as this excited me to uncontrollable terror. Yet, for some minutes longer I refrained and stood still. But the beating grew louder. I thought the heart must have burst.
And now a new anxiety seized me. The sound would be heard by a neighbor. The old man's hour had come. With a loud yell, I threw open the lantern and leaped into the room. He shrieked once only.
In an instant, I dragged him to the floor and pulled the heavy bed over him. I then smiled gaily to find the deed so far done. But for many minutes, the heart beat on with a muffled sound. At length, it ceased. The old man was dead. I removed the bed and examined the corpse. I placed my hand upon the heart and held it there many minutes.
There was no pulsation. He was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. If still you think me mad, you will think so no longer when I describe the wise precautions I took for the concealment of the body. The night waned and I worked hastily, but in silence. First of all, I dismembered the corpse. I cut off the head and the arms and the legs.
I then took up 3 planks from the flooring of the chamber and deposited all beneath the scantlings. I then replaced the boards so cleverly, so cunningly that no human eye, not even his, could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spot whatsoever. I've been too wary for that. A tub had caught all.
When I had made an end of these labors, it was 4 o'clock. still dark as midnight. As the bell sounded the hour, there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart, for what have I to fear? There entered 3 men who introduced themselves with perfect suavity as officers of the police.
A shriek had been heard by a neighbor during the night. Suspicion of foul play had been aroused. Information had been lodged at the police office, and they, the officers, had been deputed to search the premises. I smiled. For what had I to fear?
I bade the gentleman welcome. The shriek, I said, was my own and a dream. The old man I mentioned was absent in the country, and I took my visitors all over the house, and I bade them search well. I led them at length to his chamber. I showed them his treasures, secure, undisturbed.
In the enthusiasm of my confidence, I brought chairs into the room and desired them here to rest from their fatigues, while I myself, in the wild audacity of my perfect triumph, placed my own seat upon the very spot beneath which reposed the corpse of the victim.
The officers were satisfied. My manner had convinced them. I was singularly at ease. They sat, and while I answered cheerily, they chatted of familiar things, but ere long I felt myself getting pale and wished them gone. My head ached, and I fancied a ringing in my ears, but still they sat and still chatted.
The ringing became more distinct. It continued and became more distinct. I talked more freely to get rid of the feeling, but it continued and gained definiteness until at length I found that the noise was not within my ears. No doubt I now grew very pale, but I talked more fluently and with a heightened voice.
Yet the sound increased, and what could I do? It was a low, dull, quick sound, much such as a watch makes when enveloped in cotton. I gasped for breath, and yet the officers heard it not. I talked more quickly, more vehemently, but the noise steadily increased. I arose and argued about trifles in a high key and with violent gesticulations, but the noise steadily increased.
Why would they not be gone? I paced the floor to and fro with heavy strides, but the noise steadily increased. Oh God, what could I do? I foamed, I raved, I swore. I swung the chair upon which I had been sitting and grated it upon the boards.
But the noise arose all over and continually increased. It grew louder, louder, louder. The men chatted pleasantly. They smiled. Was it possible they heard not? Almighty God, no. No, they heard. They suspected. They knew. They were making a mockery of my horror.
I felt that I must scream or die, and now, again, hark, louder, 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 louder! Bellends, dissemble no more. I admit the deed. Tear up the planks. Here! It is the beating of his hideous heart.
Give yourselves a big round of applause. Thanks, guys, and thank you out there for joining us today. So today is the first of our Poe days, right? Every night is slightly different with different performers. Joanne Smith joined us tonight in the audience, but she's up tomorrow night performing. The Marcinkeviches are back on next Saturday night. Same with Laura and Mike Waldeer will be joining us next weekend. Yes?
Yep, next
Right.
weekend.
Our community read for next Friday night is The Raven. So we'll do the same type of thing. So whoever's with us hopefully will read the Raven for us. We have a few pre-recorded events that will be happening. I'm going to out Ariane, but her students are working on a recording for us. So that'll be wonderful. And they're doing the Mask of the Red Death, right? Okay, so we'll have that coming in. We have Elaine doing the predicament. Elaine in her head will be on tape soon, right? And a number of other things. So every night is slightly different. We will always do the Raven and the Tell Heart because you kind of have to, right? But with different performers and in different ways. And thank you for joining us. Say good night.
Thank you. It was great, you guys.
I'm going to stop recording. You can stay in here